This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz. Very excited to be speaking with Chelsea Christer and Martin Starr about Out for Delivery. How are you both doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm good. How comfortable would you guys say you are in your own lives with talking about death?
Pretty
Mm.
comfortable.
Yeah. Shockingly comfortable, I think, At least for me personally, my family's catching up.
That's fair. Well, my interest in this film came from going to Sundance, and before each of the films, as like the images rotate on the screen, I kept seeing this picture of Martin sitting there. I was like, "Oh, isn't that Martin Starr? Is he in some short?" And then found out I was coming to South by, and got a screener to watch. And my wife, who works as an end of life consultant and has done a lot of
Oh.
research on medical aid in dying, I asked her to read what the film was about before I looked at it, and then she was like, "Yeah, I'll watch this." And I, of course, didn't realize that's what we are going to be looking at. So I was very excited to have this very specific niche interest that I assume is not usually what your general unsuspected audience is made up of.
Yeah. Wow. I so what'd she think of the film?
Part of the film, I I believe, and I think she believes, the technology seen in the film may be a more futuristic idea than something that exists right now. But there are a lot of concepts I think that people, unlike both of you, are uncomfortable with, talking about. And I like that this sort of brings this to the front. So I'm curious from you, Chelsea, about just the inspiration for this and how you crafted it like this.
Yeah, so unfortunately the film is loosely inspired by true events. Someone I know decided to pursue end of life care, and actually, because of the pandemic, you can get this medication shipped now. And in the true story, the shipping company lost the package completely. Like it just vanished, and customer service was unempathetic, not helpful. The corporation didn't do anything to try and remedy the situation, and it was the most tragic thing I've ever heard. And when I heard it, I laughed and I felt terrible about that. So I decided to explore those feelings by writing a screenplay because I guess that's what us filmmakers do. And what I found was this like deep-seated frustration in like convenience culture, and this felt like the most extreme exploration of that, and how like convenience culture coupled with just like all of these tech companies and this like end stage capitalist game of just like trying to make our lives so much better and more convenient is actually making us more disconnected from each other, and we sort of lose that like human connection that provides us dignity and throughout life and also at end of life. So that's where it came from.
I'm glad you didn't say that your resolve was to help her finish at all cost. Um,
No, I decided to just write it to write about it.
I was to say is the other part of the story, inspired by something that, someone comes to pick up a dead body and finds that that dead body is not quite as dead as they would think.
Not dead yet. No, I honestly, I just wanted to provide the character with dignity in the end, and through a lot of undignified situations, and I thought that would be the most solved by presenting a character that could so fundamentally connect with her in a way that maybe no one else could. And so that's kind of where that idea came from. Was originally I tried really hard to write this as a one location, one character story, but in spite of myself, I had to, create like a situation that I thought was meaningful. So to me, that was finding someone that were two people who maybe could have been great friends in life, just had to meet in order to move forward.
I like that. And of course, Martin, we've talked about Tulsa King, Party Down, and like I feel like there's definitely still a sort of dark, twisted comedy to this, but it feels a little different from what I've seen you in before. What do you think about this role compared to what you've done in the past?
I just like working with good people, and this was fun. I've known Deanna for a long time, and it was fun to get the opportunity to work with her. And Chelsea had helped me out on something months before, asking me to do this, and so we had a new kind of work relationship, and I was happy to return the favor and work on something with her and that she was passionate about, and I love the story. It kind of really took shape on the day more than I had read on the page. If that makes sense. Just in person, the depth of like this, because it reads a certain way, but it really was just fun to play with Deanna and find these really sweet moments where these two people connect over something really morbid and dark, and to create a friendship moments before you're intending to end your own life with with cause, is just like so deeply sad, um, and yet there's still like these really sweet moments, and then of course the ending is just something fun that we got to uh, play with. She was like, just pick her up, and you know um, we got to just find something funny and unique and sweet, and hopefully not too over the top, but um, genuine.
No, I think it's definitely very entertaining and it's touching, and I appreciate that it's inspired by a personal experience. I'm also curious. I don't know if you had the chance to see a film called Life After at Sundance,
Yeah.
which deals with the potentially problematic implications of medical aid in dying and the misconceptions people have about it. Like, for instance, that you could just say, I want to die, order a pill, and by the time, your character, Martin, is there, you're already dead. And I think I was curious, Chelsea, what kind of reservations you had about wanting to make sure you represented something as accurately as possible so as not to have people claim that this is a political statement or something that could be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in end of life care for terminal illness. I think that that's something that is a form of bodily autonomy that is important for people to have access to. If we now have the ability to not have a painful passing and be able to pass peacefully and on our own terms when it comes to terminal illness, I think that that's like I think it's important. With Life After, which I did not see at Sundance, but I do know about it. I think that that full view of end of life care is important to represent, because to me, that's like defining quality of life in a way that's on terms that aren't necessarily universal. And while our film does address like an end of life care, to me, this film is less about the like political nature of end of life care and having access to it, and more about the structures that are in place to that like provide us services in our life, right? Like this to me is like this film is more about the most extreme mishap of this like end stage capitalist tech industry, like connect like convenience culture game. And so while I am representing something that is kind of a controversial topic, that wasn't necessarily like our aim was to be a part of that conversation. But I am getting a lot of people asking me about it, and again, like I stand by, like I think it is essential for people to have access to end of life care for terminal illness, but when it comes to quality of life end of life care, that to me is a whole other topic that is, it's not the same, it's very different.
I also,
Should
yeah, go ahead, Martin, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is obviously very different, but we've implemented it in other ways, and I'm not equating a dog's life to a human's life, but I put my dog down yesterday, and it's
Sorry.
obviously a terribly painful thing to have to do. But he was put down humanely, and these were decisions that I unfortunately had to make for him, and I bear the weight of that decision. But he was going to be, and already was, in some pretty severe pain, and his outcome didn't look good, even long term. And there were other options as far as putting him on, cancer medications and things to like keep him alive. But at his age, it didn't look good, and for and it was done humanely, and we got to say goodbye to him in a way that was respectful, and he got to live a great life. He was still like mobile, barely, but mobile at the end. And as a human being, I would like to be able to make that own decision for myself should I come up against something difficult. And um, not that his fight was gone. That's the only one thing that I have to reckon with in myself because I had to make the decision for him. But for an individual, as a human being, you have to decide whether you still have the fight to take on the challenge that's in your life to overcome whatever disease or the potential outcomes ahead of you in facing what you're facing, whatever that specific health issue is. And you should be able to have the dignity to make that decision on your own, for sure.
Really? No, I'm sorry to hear about that, and I
Oh
appreciate
my
you
God, Martin, I'm
being with
so
us. So,
sorry. Oh,
It's it comes with the territory of loving someone or something as much as you do.
well, I'm sure that there are many people who, like me, will seek out this film because they recognize you, Martin, or because they're at South by Southwest and they're just looking to see short films without having any knowledge of its content. Are there resources that you would direct them to, maybe Chelsea, that you had, in your own preparation for this film that would be good to learn more just about this entire world?
about like film festivals or
No, about like medical aid and dying and
oh,
just
medical
learning
aid.
from that.
Oh, I am no authority. I did a lot of research. I learned a lot from my research, and I think like there are only certain states that provide access to this kind of care. So you can look those up. But I again like this was the setting for our film and not necessarily like the political message of our film, and so I think like it's something that I think everybody should learn more about. It's important, I think, for everybody to be able to make decisions about their own bodies, and I feel like this falls under that category.
This is such a unique backdrop for what I look at as like a sweet uh, it's not romantic, but it's romanticized. Like this friendship is really kind of the crux of the story. I mean, you don't have enough time in a short film to really dig into the depth of your intention as a filmmaker, I'm sure, Chelsea. But to get across the heart of the story you're trying to tell, because oftentimes, and I think in this case, and don't let me speak out of turn, Chelsea, but I think this is an intended advertisement for what a feature could look like. There's a much broader and deeper story that exists in this, and this is a pretty unique backdrop for what is essentially just a story about people struggling and people finding each other and people growing and sometimes people making decisions that are definitive.
I think, Martin, you beat me to it. I was curious. I know that if this
Nailed it.
could become a feature, I'm curious where it would be expanded, because I feel like there's something so nice and like perfect about where it starts and where it ends. So, what is it that you want to explore more of? I'm very curious.
Yeah, I mean, I am typically of the mind if you can solve it with a short, don't overstay your welcome with a feature. But there is so much fertile ground here of like of that human experience and that human connection and how we as people can serve each other better than, the overlords can serve us. And so to me, it's I originally was a bit reticent to explore the feature route, but I've had some really fun ideas and I've started outlining a feature. I was going to talk to Martin about this at South by, but no, I have some ideas that are really exciting to me, and while while it's still in like the early stages, just exploring exactly as Martin said, this like story of people and people meeting and like finding dignity through that connection and friendship and just like understanding of one another. That to me is like what I love to explore in my work pretty consistently about community and people, and how especially in times like these, how holding on to each other is kind of the all we got, and what we need to do to serve our communities and ourselves is to be a part of those of those connections. So yeah, so I mean, all I can say is right now the loose like feature sort of thought is, what if it does take up to 15 hours? And then go from there. So we'll see.
Well, I know that South by is a very specific type of audience that really likes movies. What expectations do you have for showing the film there?
I have never been to South by. I've attended Sundance many a time, so this will be. I have no expectations other than just excitement, nerves, the usual. Trying to navigate the absolutely erratic weather app that is representing Austin, Texas right now. Like packing right now has been, I have no idea. I have a winter coat. I also have like a tank top. Like I have no idea what to pack. So if anything, it is more practical than like anything else. But I'm really excited to see how South by Southwest's audiences receive our film. It's, when you make these things, it's often so siloed. When you write, and then as community, you get to make it together. And then exhibition is like this final stage of making a film that's just so exciting, because then you get to finally have a conversation with an audience, and you get to present how you feel about something, and then see what's taken out of it. And that is always exciting to me, no matter where and who. So we'll see what Texas thinks.
I'm sure they'll love it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Packing is definitely a challenge. It's chilly in the morning and then like 80 in the afternoon. So, but it's a fun crowd, and I'm sure you'll have a great time.
Yeah. Are you in Austin, Abe?
No, I will be in Austin. Right now I'm
Oh,
I'm in LA, but I'm South by is very different, certainly as different as can be from Sundance, but there's an interesting crossover recently of a lot of films going from one to the other. So I am sure it'll be great, and wish you both a very successful premiere, and looking forward to what comes next with the feature.
yeah.